Hello everybody, my name is Jordan. I'm the host of the Stick Blade podcast. For those of you who don't know, we're a Detroit Red Wings and a Chicago Blackhawks Red Rivals podcast. Basically, we cover all things Detroit Red Wings and all things Chicago Blackhawks, and then just general news around the NHL and the hockey world. So with that being said, I kind of want to talk about, in particular, this NHL play-in round and exhibition that's sort of going on right now. In particular, the Blackhawks and Blues game, and just my general thoughts. So for anybody that hasn't really been paying attention to it, the NHL has officially got the season rolling back underway. They're literally just wrapping up exhibition games as of the recording of this video. Chicago played against the St. Louis Blues and won 4-0. So for anybody who just was kind of wanting to know how they played, that was the end outcome. But I kind of want to talk about the game more in depth because I feel like there are some things that we definitely need to look at moving forward for Chicago if they want to have meaningful playoff experience and a meaningful playoff push. So with that being said, I kind of want to just get into it. So before this exhibition, Chicago had, I want to say it was 3 or 4 scrimmages that were inter-team where it was strictly players from Chicago's organization playing against each other. I thought that was good. I thought it was great for their organization to have something like that. If you're going to be away from the game for 3 months like they have been, I think you might as well get all the reps in you can, because come playoff time, every loss matters, every win matters. So the more rested or practiced you are, which obviously rest shouldn't be a problem at this point, the players have had 3 months off, but the more practiced you are, the better. And the fact that the Hawks actually had these inter-team scrimmages, I thought was a good sign for them. Now, looking at the St. Louis Blues and Chicago game, this is my general thought process. If you want to look at just the actual stats, 4-0, the Hawks win. Okay, that's fine. Great for Chicago. You won the game. But I'd like to actually look at things a little bit deeper than just what's on the scoreboard. So, the first being what I liked. I liked Chicago's power play a lot. The cycle game was good. They didn't try to rush chances. They were willing to actually pass around and wait for good quality shots. They did a good job of getting guys to the net. That way, if they had the ability to get a rebound goal, they actually had a chance to get it. And even just like those weird dirty goals where it doesn't look like anything's going to come from a play, there's a chance that it can happen. So I liked Chicago's power play in that regard, because for the past couple of seasons, Chicago's power play has not been that good. So I think that's a positive sign for them moving forward. The other thing that I liked Chicago's overall offensive pressure. And it wasn't even just the power play, even their 5-on-5, I liked their offensive pressure a lot. They did a good job of getting guys right in front of the goaltender, like I said, to try to get those dirty goals that you don't even really suspect to come out of anywhere, and I like that. And on top of that, I like their passing game in general once they had possession. And the thing is, in hockey, especially right now, these big bruiser guys aren't what you're playing against very often, and yes, they still exist on teams, sure, but hockey's very much a finesse game, and the Hawks were playing a very good finesse game last night. And their offense really showed that because of the fact that, they were constantly in the Blues zone. The things that I didn't like, though, one in particular was Chicago's passing. Now, like I said, I understand that the teams have been away for 3 months now, so you haven't really gotten a chance to have true quality reps doing, basic stuff like passing, shooting, whatever. I understand that. But at the same time, Chicago's roster is not a bunch of young kids. There are a couple, sure, but there are quite a few guys who have some age on them. Chicago needs to get their passing more in line with a cup contending team, in my opinion. If Chicago thinks they're going to play a team like Boston or like Washington or like Tampa, and that just adequate passing is going to win them games, they're mistaken. The matter is that in the NHL, it's a finesse game. When your passes get intercepted, teams are absolutely going to penalize you for that. And so when you're getting penalized for having inadequate passing, that's going to mean more scoring chances against you and your goaltender. It's just a matter of fact. Now, the other thing that I thought Chicago really needed to work on was just decision-making in their own zone. like I said, offensively, I thought Chicago was great. Especially 5-on-5, I liked Chicago's offensive pressure. But boy, when they got into their own zone, I saw some very terrible plays. It just seemed like a lot of their players were going for these fancy passes that they didn't need to go for. I mean, I want to say there were two in particular that stood out to me, where there was an open man in the middle zone, and instead of taking the very easy pass that's going to lead to either a dump and chase or just a one-man carry-in, they would go for some other pass to try to either recoil back in their own zone and restart a cleaner entry, which then resulted in a turnover and a scoring chance by St. Louis. And again, I mean, this is a finesse game right now in the NHL. Teams that are able to pick off your passes like that, they're absolutely going to get every bit they can out of it. They're going to take those passes, they're going to try to generate quality scoring chances and make you pay for that. Chicago needs to get their passing game much better, in my opinion, if they want to really be able to compete with these cup contending teams, because adequate passing won't win you games, at least probably not in the playoffs when you're playing against these just really stacked teams like a Boston or like a Tampa Bay. That's not going to work. One other thing that I really didn't like about Chicago's game, though, was I didn't like the fact that it seemed like they weren't willing to take chances with their line combinations. I think that the exhibition, they should have actually taken this chance to really just play the line juggle. And if you listen to our podcast, you know that I hate when Jeff Blashill does it for the Detroit Red Wings. But the thing is, this game doesn't mean anything to Chicago right now. I mean, yes, you could say that if you keep these lines together or if you juggle them, you're going to start messing with chemistry. But the fact is, these guys haven't played together really in the past 3 months anyway, aside from those inter-team scrimmages. So I think it would just be better to start playing a line juggle, at least for an exhibition game, and just seeing, what players are going to naturally click together, which ones won't. One other thing that I really did like out of Chicago, though, is I like the goaltending. Obviously, laying a 0 on the board, you can't really ask for much more than that. I mean, you're going to get a shutout. What more do you want from your goaltender at that point? You can't really ask for anything better because that's perfect goaltending. But overall, I liked what I saw out of Chicago. I mean, yes, like I said, I think the passing needs work, and I think some of the decision-making needs a little bit of work. But at the end of the day, I liked what I saw overall. I think if they can clean up passing, that if their power play stays as good as it did this game, I think they have a legitimate chance of beating Edmonton in the play-in round. Now, will they make a run? I don't think so. And I hate to be a pessimist in that regard, but I just don't see it with Chicago. And, maybe that's for the best, maybe it's not. I don't know. But I at least think that I could see them giving Edmonton a fair run for their money if they can clean up their passing. I mean, if they can do that and they can also find a way to shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, I really do think Chicago can walk away with the win from this play-in round. I think it's very feasible for them. I don't think it's going to come easy because I think playoff McDavid and playoff Draisaitl are just going to be monsters. Leon Draisaitl and McDavid were both great in the regular season, great in general. But I think come playoff time, the hunger's going to be there for Edmonton, and Chicago is going to have to earn this W if they want it. My overall thoughts on the playoff exhibition games in general, I actually liked the presentation quite a bit. I didn't think that I would like it that there are no fans in the stands, but after a while, you don't even really notice. I mean, they did a good job of putting, like the fan crowd reactions in when guys got goals, and having, like white noise from the crowd. The goal songs when teams scored goals were good. Also, just the presentation, it looked like a playoff game. I mean, yes, the fans weren't in the crowd, but when you're watching a game on TV, I mean, how often do you really look at that crowd and, start looking at the people in the crowd? You don't. You're watching the product on the ice at the end of the day. And the product on the ice looked good. The camera angles were good. The cameras didn't appear to be set up by an amateur squad. I mean, it looked like a professional broadcast, and I like that. Also, I mean, I know it's kind of hard for the league because there aren't fans to really bring that energy, but I like the fact that they put in, the white noise and the cheering, because it helps simulate that crowd noise that the fans bring to the arena and that the players sort of draw off. So I like that as well. But yeah, that's just it. That's kind of my thoughts on what happened with the exhibition games for the NHL. I'm really looking forward to the play-in rounds that are going to be starting come Saturday. And we are actually going to have another episode of the podcast probably going up either tomorrow or Saturday morning. So keep your eyes peeled for it. As always, we appreciate you guys who tune into the episodes for actually tuning in and listening to the show. If you haven't ever heard of us before, I'll put links down to our podcast in the description of this video. Or if you're watching us on Facebook, feel free to give us a like or a follow, whatever you like doing, because there are plenty of ways to keep in touch with the channel and get access to our content. So we just enjoy having you guys along for the ride. And with that being said, let's go Blackhawks.